Right. So, what do you think of cancel culture then? What sort of things should be cancelled or what shouldn't? What sort of people deserve to be cancelled? On what grounds should they be stopped from being platformed? Do any particular individuals spring to mind? And should there be some consistency in how people are treated, be they cancelled or not? Should we cancel anyone? Should we be advocates of unilateral free speech, or should that come with a certain amount of responsibility? Well, I certainly think responsibility should be part of the story. Platforming racists, the hard right, vicious ideologues who wish harm on others, why would you want to platform them? And surely you'd want to reinforce that message by turning down such people each and every time. But imagine for a moment you're at a music festival and a little man gets up on stage with a microphone, unassuming looking fella, bit of a beard, definitely older than most there, and then consider the guy to be a politician. But unlike most, he actually gets cheered. He actually gets people singing his name even, young people mostly at that, but not exclusively so. Have you ever seen the like? Have you ever heard of it happening before? Well, now consider that this man's political rise, as that was, followed by his fall, became documented in a film. As popular as this guy was at your festival, would you cancel a showing of this film? Is that showing consistency? Is that responsible, fair and even-handed behaviour? Or, as right-wingers who often get refused because of their sickeningly appalling beliefs so often bleat about, is that cancel culture? Just the real thing this time. We are, of course, referring to Jeremy Corbyn here. Who else could it be? The guy stood up on stage at Glastonbury at the height of his leadership in 2017, back when Labour was worth being a part on. The chants of "Oh Jeremy Corbyn" ringing out from 50,000 people who were watching and listening to what he had to say. He had his enemies conspiring behind closed doors, of course, though, and on the benches behind him. It didn't matter that the guy had mass appeal to the public. It didn't matter that he stood on a platform of a host of exciting, transformative policies to benefit us and not politicians or vested interests lobbying them, having grown Labour to be the biggest party in Europe, having paid off decades-old debts, and done it not with private donations, but a fiver here and a tenner there from ordinary working-class people the country over, who he had won over with his arguments. To the people seeking to bring him down, though, who succeeded in doing so, of course, none of this was important. None of this was acceptable even. There was a gravy train. There were career ambitions on the right of the Labour Party. And worst of all for them, they were not in charge anymore. The left was. And the left are supposed to be quiet and know their place and do as they're told, much as left Labour MPs are doing once again now, sadly. So Corbyn was brought down. They couldn't attack his policies. They couldn't attack him, whiter than white as his parliamentary career was. Instead, they resorted to a smear campaign, labelling a lifelong anti-racist as tantamount to someone about to reinvent Nazi Germany here in the UK. Broke him as a man, as Lisa Nandy put it, as he'd come too close for their liking to power in 2017. And so for 2019, Keir Starmer, of course, called Labour for Remain, going into that Brexit election, putting paid to his leadership there too. But it is the anti-Semitism attacks that did the most damage. To this day, he is still regarded by far too many people as a racist. His crime, to all intents and purposes, consisting of little more than being pro-Palestine and pro-two-state solution, pro-peace. To that end, the film made about him being shown in small independent outlets around the country, The Big Lie, narrated by comedian Alexei Sayle, no less, himself Jewish, and a man quoted as saying, "It's absurd to see people who have spent a lifetime standing against racism being accused of racism by racists." And that sums it up perfectly. That is the absurdity of what has happened to Jeremy Corbyn. But nobody in this case is laughing. The film came into being to push back against years of lies and smears against him, an anti-racist accused of being a racist. It was due to be shown at Glastonbury this year, no less. But now it won't be. Not exactly a rock and roll decision to make, Glasto. In 2017, Michael Eavis, the organiser, personally invited Corbyn to address the crowds there. Such was his support. Back when, as a festival, you were happy to put him on your main stage. So who's got to you now? What has changed? Because for all the rancid two-facedness we see in politics again now, not least from the current Labour leader, the one politician who hasn't changed and will never change is Jeremy Corbyn. Cancel culture. This is what this is. Who triggered it, though? In whose heads is Corbyn still living rent-free the most? And as ever, it is the vested interests of the Israel lobby, it would seem. Marie van der Zyl of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, the right-wing conservative Jewish body that purports to represent all Jewish people in the UK, but absolutely doesn't, called the film a conspiracy theory. writing to the event organisers that it would be incredibly sinister for the film to be shown at Glastonbury. She said that the decision to show the film was deeply worrying and have declared how pleased she is and the Board of Deputies are that Glastonbury has cancelled the screening. Marie van der Zyl, the Jewish Mary Whitehouse, if you will. If they were so sure of themselves, though, they'd have had no problem having the film screened. They'd be comfortable in the knowledge of how right they are. And sure, people are intelligent enough to see through the distortion and lies, and surely this must be if they are right. But they aren't right, and they aren't sure of themselves, because they know they're utterly craven and dishonest. The campaign against anti-Semitism, risible organisation, again, cancel culture, apparently went to one of Glastonbury's sponsors, Vodafone, to put pressure on the event organisers, claiming people shouldn't fear indoctrination by anti-Semitism deniers, when all Corbyn is a critic of Israel and their treatment of Palestinians, as so many of us are. So many of us have been accused of all sorts as a result too. Alexei Sayle isn't the only Jewish person involved in the film either. Activists like Jackie Walker and Moshe Makaver feature. It's not an amateur piece either, with contributions from film director Ken Loach as well. Speaking of amateurs, though, somebody who has done a great deal to help promote the film is pretend lefty, now Starmerite, brown-noser Paul Mason, who incredibly has managed to write a review of the film without actually seeing it. You can just imagine how ridiculous that review is. Apparently even the title, according to him, Oh Jeremy Corbyn, The Big Lie, is itself anti-Semitic. He needs to lie down in a dark room. Let's all mourn the loss of Paul's brain cells a moment. But such is the ridiculousness of his stunt, people are now actively looking for where they can see this film. Part of this is also down to Glastonbury banning it, because there's nothing more British, is there, than going the extra mile to see something somebody else doesn't want us to. First came Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, then it's Jeremy Corbyn in It Was a Scam. Platform Films have recorded a boom in screenings following their film being pulled by Glastonbury. If you're on Facebook, look up Platform Films UK for screenings near you, or try their website platformfilms.co.uk. But that was actually down this morning at time of writing because it's crashed. Corbyn was lambasted for being pro-Israel. They've attempted to do the same thing in recent weeks to Pink Floyd's Roger Waters, of course, as well. Corbyn should have taken the Waters approach back in the day, frankly, and told everyone calling him a racist to F off. But here's what they're standing against. Today, Israel's foreign minister has called for the assassinations of Palestinian leaders in the West Bank. Yesterday, 5 Palestinians in Jenin in the West Bank were killed. Ambulances from Palestine's Red Crescent Service arrived and got shot at as well. Journalists get targeted, kids get killed as well, and the lengths some will go to in this country to protect those who are guilty of committing such heinous crimes to the point they have to kill off any semblance of resistance to that, even to the point of a film about a past party leader being shown. It's just craven and chronic and just so sickening. Corbyn's only crime is that he stood up to an apartheid state, and instead of defending that, because they can't, they have no defence for that sort of behaviour. They have to resort to threats and censorship and accusing anti-racists of being racist, scaring people into silence. But if you know you aren't a racist, then some no-mark defending Israel shouldn't scare you into silence about that either. That country needs to be called out, and with plans for an anti-BDS law now coming in the UK, I'm going to have more to say about this in the days to come, so please do like, share and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on such events. I will call it out each and every time because we cannot be cowed into silence. Meanwhile, if you care to stick with the channel, the pro-Israel interest's biggest supporter, Keir Starmer, recently took down one of his own MPs for daring to make a mild criticism of them, such as how far Labour have fallen on this issue. And I'll catch you on the next video, I hope. Cheers, folks.